Hi, everybody. I'm Ronnie.
Hello, and I'm Jenny, and we are,
We are the Heart and Soul Sisters,
you got it.
and we just do it that way now. That's just who we are.
Yeah, we accept our limitations.
Yes, we do. We accept what it takes to podcast via distance, and
Yeah,
and tape delay, time delay is one of those things.
yes, it is.
But it's nice to see you.
Good to see you too.
Yeah, you've been traveling, so I missed you. So I'm
Yeah,
glad we get a chance to podcast today.
yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
So so
So, who are we talking
today
about today? Yay!
Today
You
we're
want to?
talking about we're in the beginning of a twofer. We're going to start with we got two podcasts that are going to be related in terms of topic, but today we're going to
Yeah.
talk about Brian Weiss, who
Yes.
actually is probably one of the first sets of what do I want to say, spiritual readings that I did. Yeah, just kind of doing some of the more of the things that I've come to talk about or describe as being out there. Reading the
Yes.
Brian Weiss was actually his books, and he has a number of them. I have 5 or 6 of them. I read them all at least once, some of them 2 or 3 times. But you were the one that found him and turned me on to him. So why don't you talk about how you
Yes.
came to Brian Weiss?
So, like so many things, I came to hear about Brian Weiss through a good friend of mine who is also, and I won't say her name because she may want to, she might
Remain
want to protect her
anonymous.
privacy. Yeah, be anonymous. But we call each other soul sisters because we're interested in a lot of the same things, and and it's so funny. We've known each other for years, and we both love music and anyway. She'll pick up a book, and then when we get together or we're visiting, I'm like, oh my gosh, I just bought that, or I'm halfway through it, or it's just really funny. So
That is funny.
it is. So so anyway, she said, have you heard about this Dr. Brian Weiss? I'm like, what? Is he a naturalist? Because she knows I'm into, my kids tease me that everything in my garden has medicinal purposes. So or is, good for the bees or good for the hummingbirds or whatever. So anyway, yeah, I'm one of those. Um, so I said, no, I haven't. And this was holy moly. Thinking probably
At
what?
least 10 years ago.
It was more than that because we were still in
Yes.
Nashville. So it had to be more like 13, 14 years ago because I
Yeah.
started reading these books when we lived there.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, so I said, no, what is it? What's this about? And she said, well, he's a psychiatrist and he does like hypnotherapy. And she said, and he got into doing recession work with people. So going back to when they were young children or babies or, trying to help pull up what may be the root cause of their severe anxiety or phobia or whatever that has just paralyzed them. And through doing his hypnotherapy and recession work, he started having clients that started going into past lives, and some of these people are so deep that they're not fully conscious as they're doing the hypnotherapy. So it's not
Right.
like they're sitting there making up stories when you're depending on the level of how deep people go. I mean, you don't make this stuff up. So it's really interesting. But anyway, the first book I read was Many Lives, Many Masters,
Hmm.
and that blew my mind. And then I read Only Love Is Real, and then I read I think Messages from the Masters, and then Through Time into Healing, and then the Miracles Happen, the transformational healing power of past life memories. So yes, he got into discovering over and over again people that had said, I lived a past life and I was in this life and like Pompeii and the horrible, volcanic eruptions, or somebody else was, in Greece in a horrible, earthquake, or different times throughout, of course, the millennia. And fascinating healing that occurred for these people once they had memory of these past life traumas and losses, things like that. And it just and and giving you a little history. I mean, we grew up Catholic, sort of, because we went to church when we were younger,
Right.
regularly.
Hmm.
But our dad and mom dad kind of led the way, but mom kind of followed wherever dad, whatever dad wanted to do. And he got really interested in the occult, all kinds of reading on all kinds of subjects, but also reincarnation and all that. So we grew up with that,
Yeah.
kind of talked about at home, talked about the books dad was reading or friends that he brought home. He had,
Right.
a few people that came in and did like a mediumship type readings in our living room,
Right.
and I know for my 18th birthday, he took me for a past life regression. It's some little settlement of psychics. So that was my 18th birthday present. So we were, not your not a typical Catholic family, okay,
Right.
at
Right.
all. So I think that we certainly had a more open mind to things that you can't see and touch or necessarily explain. And so reading Brian Weiss's books sort of brought me back to that
Hmm.
a little bit,
Yeah.
of and saying, well, gosh, this is a psychiatrist who, and I know he's, some people have probably, well, I've read some things online that have, tried to discredit Dr. Weiss, but I was fascinated by the stories and the cases that he shared because he was practicing, and so he does, you know, basically seminars, at different places. And so I had the opportunity, and this was probably 12 years ago, to go to Omega Institute,
Hmm.
where he and his wife Carol were doing a week long um, seminar. And it was really amazing. Um, the the recessions that he did and the people, who had, and he just followed, his intuition as to who he needed to work with. But it was just really a wonderful group of amazing, loving people, and a lot of it was funny. I met like a family practice doctor that was sitting next to me, and a psychologist, and lots of Reiki people, and all that. And it was just a really amazing group of healers, a lot of healers in that audience. And just the loving, supportive atmosphere, and that was something that Dr. Weiss and his wife Carol had talked about, because we witnessed a lot of people who had really been through some pretty traumatic stuff in this life, and and through the recessions that he did with them, working with them, it you could tell that it just had a profound healing for them. Letting go of, for example, anxieties or even physical pain that they were carrying in their body, that actually had a connection in this life, but also a connection in a past life. So um, it just was just phenomenal experience. And I yeah, I think that it helped me to really look more at my life and whatever traumas that we've experienced and we've shared in our family of origin, and really have more compassion, because I believe nobody comes into this life saying, I'm going to, or plans to, I'm going to really ruin somebody's life. I'm going to murder somebody, or I'm going to, you know what I mean? It's not
Yeah.
something that is part of the plan. We really are beings of, and everybody has different philosophies of, I've heard people say we're born evil, we're born bad, and we have to be socialized into being good. I believe the opposite of that. I believe we are all love. We are all sparks from the divine source of love, and whatever religion you um, are affiliated with. I mean, that's kind of the God so loved the world, right? That he sent his only son to save us, or whatever different, the basic foundation of we're here to help each other, we're here to grow, we're here to evolve, We're here to love each other, and that's really because we're all sparks of the same thing. We're all connected, and that's what Dr. Weiss talks about in his books. He talks about we come here to the school of Earth to learn, and we're here to help each other to learn. We're here to be connected to each other, to interact with each other. Um, and when we go back on the other side, we really, here we think we're all separate. We're all individuals, and that's what I think contributes to road rage and all these other, these other things that we can get distracted with. But when we go to the other side, we realize we're all here to play a part in helping each other grow, helping each other be the best soul we can be. And so I looked at his books as being a reminder of the loving and the hopefulness of the whole point of why we're here. And that it helps me to not get quite as crazy angry when I see somebody acting in a way that I don't like. I'm not saying that I don't get upset or ruffled, but I'm able to calm down a lot quicker and say, this person is in a different place. They're on a different path, and I just need to accept that, because there's more going on than I'm aware of,
Right.
And so I think his books are, and it talks over and over about our soul tribes and our people that we're meant to meet, and how our lives and our paths cross, and then sometimes later we'll reconnect, and that's why some people move around, is because we're meant to meet certain people at certain times. There's prearranged agreements to help us to achieve our objectives, which is to evolve more and as much as we can, and to be the best version of ourselves. And I think that's really hopeful.
Yeah,
So
that was one of the things I liked about his books, is the stories of people being together over multiple lifetimes. I mean, when I first read the books, like I said, this was kind of one of my first forays into some of this stuff that's more spiritually based, and I've said a number of times in our podcast that I, as an academic, have just lived in the world of the rational mind, and so I'm very skeptical about these things. I was skeptical about Reiki when we went and did it, but actually, these books predate the Reiki even. I read this before we went to do the Reiki, and I just because he starts from that same place, right? As a psychiatrist who's at I believe he was at Columbia, if I'm remembering correctly. Just full disclosure here, folks, about when we're talking about these people, we don't treat this as an academic exercise or a journalistic exercise. We don't go back and look at the books and make notes and do all those things. We're talking from our hearts about what we carry with us from having read these things, even if it's more than a decade ago. And so we think that's what's most valuable. Like if you're interested in the book, you want to read it yourself or go watch people's videos or whatever. That's what we're sort of giving you a little teaser to do. But so as I recall, he was at Columbia at least at one point, and then he ended up in Miami. Maybe he was
in Miami,
Columbia University. Anyway, he's got the credentials, right? He's definitely not some quack from somewhere that you would question. And he talks about how the very first time he did this past life regression, that it was a total accident. He would say, he would use language something along the lines of, tell me when in your life, what happened in your life that triggered this. And people would go back, like you said, to infancy or whatever. And then one time he phrased it, go back to when this first was an issue for you, a problem. And that led this woman to go back to a past life, which was hundreds of years ago.
In Greece.
Yes.
Ancient Greece, yeah.
And so he was floored. He couldn't believe that it had happened. He didn't believe it. He was very skeptical about it. He started reading all kinds of things about anything he could get his hands on. This would have been 30 or 40 years ago, about past lives and regression and all that sort of thing. So I felt like I was walking hand in hand with him down the path. It's like, okay, demonstrate to me that this is really real. And the other thing I found very, very powerful, there's some of this sprinkled throughout each of his books, but there's also a book where he focuses on this idea that souls get together multiple times over multiple lives, right? And they might be parent and child in one lifetime, they might be lovers in another lifetime, they might be siblings in another one. But that he actually had instances where not only did he have people who regressed and talked about, oh, this person who was my dad in this life 500 years ago is now my husband, or whatever. But he also talked about how, in at least one instance, he was separately treating two people, and he through regression therapy they went back
Only
to the
love is
same
real.
life. Yeah, they went
Yeah.
back to the same life, and he's like, I feel like they're supposed to be together again, but it's not my job. I don't want to mess with the fates, right? The rolls of the
Yes.
dice, the contracts that they
Yes.
might have. So it was so fascinating, to me to kind of walk down that path with him, from
Yes.
skepticism, prove it to me, to sort of coming to an acceptance that, and it also resonated with me just from that inner knowing that we talk about a lot, because I
Mhm.
have people, my husband, right? I found him at the age of 14, and I just feel this tremendous connection to him.
Yeah.
I've got people in my life that are, childhood friends that I connect with every once in a while, and it's like we never,
Yeah.
the connection is still there, and so it feels like that I'm not starting from scratch in those relationships. I'm
Right.
actually building on something that was already there. Like, how did I know at 14 that this
Well, and
was
it's so
my
funny.
life partner?
It's so funny because and it's really cool because as your sister, I would tell you, well, you're going to marry Jim. So just, I
And
know
I
you
would say, shut up,
shut
Jenny.
up, Jenny. but I knew, and I was 3 years younger than you are, and I'm like,
Yeah.
you guys are meant to be together, Ronnie. You're meant to be together. So I always joke with Jim. I'm like, I was on Team Jim from the beginning, man. I knew he was the one. But there's a deep sense, a deep knowing, and a connection that we have with some people,
Mhm.
and sometimes we have that with somebody that you just meet for the first time, and you're like, why am I so comfortable with this person? Why, they get my humor, or I get their humor, or you just connect. Or same thing. I have very few really close friends from childhood. I mean, you know, I can tell you three I can think of right now that I can see them, and it's like they've been a soul sister or a soul brother for I've known. It feels like I've known them forever,
Mhm.
and just had breakfast with one this morning. That we maybe see each other every year and a half, 3 years, 5 years, whatever. Doesn't matter. I get him. He gets me. We're like brother sister. I mean, and he was put in my life at a certain point to help me learn to take life less seriously. It's not all blood and guts, Jenny. You can laugh at this stuff. You don't have to take everything so seriously. You're
Right.
not going to die. If you screw up or you look like a fool. And that was such a gift at that point in my life. I really, really needed that. So
Yeah.
I love him forever for that gift of comedic laughter and learning how to laugh at myself more. So that's just an example. But we meet people throughout our lives that, and sometimes they come and go. We may connect really powerfully and you move away and you drift apart, and
Right.
but there's a reason, because there's this. It's like this big extended family, that we've known each other for eons, and that makes sense.
Yeah.
Our little family tribe, we call it. um Gosh, we are close. We're not perfect, but we just love each other fiercely,
Yeah.
and we want to help each other, and we want to support each other and lift each other up, and it's such a gift to have that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's comforting. You know, I know that any of the folks that may really struggle with um, the concept of reincarnation, or I've heard people say, well, I don't think God needs to recycle anything. It's like, well, the earth recycles.
You're
You
right.
know,
Everything
the
in
earth is
creation recycles.
everything in creation recycles. Yeah, energy
The
is energy.
water,
It doesn't ever go away.
right?
Yeah, so um it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me to think about that. I mean, there have been times in my life that I'm like, I don't want to do this again. I don't want to come here again. I'm done. I'm done. Don't make me. Don't ask me. No. You know. But then there are other moments, that I'm like, oh, this is bliss. This is amazing. And I'm really grateful. And I think Brian Weiss's books um, really helped me to look at each moment, each day we have here really is a gift.
Yeah.
It really is. Even the ones that really challenge us.
Yeah.
Those are gifts too.
Yeah.
That's a huge opportunity for tremendous growth and becoming more compassionate, becoming more patient, you know, becoming more loving. And so that's what I just absolutely love about Brian Weiss and his books.
The other thing that I love about him, I mean, I was second what you were saying, but his message is very unifying because as time goes on, as he's doing these regression sessions with people, he starts to get he calls them the masters, right? Very evolved, enlightened beings of some sort start to speak to him through the bodies of the people that are under regression therapy. They don't remember any of this stuff. It's not coming from them.
Yeah.
But he's got a whole book that he calls Messages from the Masters, and that's the one I've read the most. I think I've read that 3 or 4 times, and because there's so much there to try to drink in. And
Yeah.
one of the things I really, really appreciate about that book was at the very end, he's got this appendix where he takes all the major world religions, right? Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, Hindu beliefs,
Hindu.
Taoism,
Yeah.
all this stuff. And he'll take
Yeah.
one little truism, proverb, whatever, like, the golden rule, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. And he'll give you the piece of the sacred text from each of these major belief
Yes.
systems, world religions, to show you just how similar it is, right? And so as I drifted away from Catholicism, the belief system we were embedded in as we were growing up, I just came to the conclusion that religion is made by humans, and nobody has a monopoly on truth. Every path has a little piece of truth. We're all trying to get there. Nobody's got the complete picture. We're all just trying to do what makes the most sense to us, including us, right? Talking about this, we're still, as we read these things, as we have these experiences that we've been talking about all along, and we got more to talk about. We've talked many times about how it's like when we were kids and we go pick up stones on the shores of Lake Superior or Lake Huron or Lake Michigan and go, oh, this is a good one. And we take it home with us, right? We're still picking up Koskis and little pieces of granite, all these little jewels that we're just kind of hoarding in our little basket. And we're enjoying them. And we're at this point, in this season of our podcast, I feel like we're bringing out our stones and showing everybody what we got. This is my favorite. I picked this up here, and this is what it meant to me, and this is what it reminds me of, and all that.
Yeah.
So,
it's awesome.
Yeah.
So we've had a lot of help along the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yes, we have. Which is why we're doing this, to try to think if there's anything that we can say to be helpful to somebody else. That's
even if it's just one person.
Yeah, which it might be. Right? The one person who watched our YouTube video last week. Right?
Yeah.
Hello, we see you.
Hi.
Thank you for caring.
We recognize you. You're there. You're out there.
Yay!
And that's I think it's so important that we feel connected to others, that we know we're not alone. Because this, I don't, whether you've had a traumatic, adverse childhood experiences, or whether you're just just trying to get through the the school of life. There, it can be tough. This
Yeah.
is a tough school,
Yeah.
and it can really kick your teeth in sometimes. But just knowing that you're not alone, because I think I know, being a survivor of trauma, you feel very isolated. You feel very alone.
Yeah.
And I could be in a room full of people and feel very alone.
Yeah.
And I think these wise souls, that have shared their experiences, their healing experiences and therapies with others is, one, very brave, because it's difficult to step in the light and say, this is me.
Right.
Here I am.
Right.
Flaws and all. And I accept that, my philosophies or my experiences may not resonate with you, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But they're very valid for me. And this is what's helped me. And maybe there's one thing in this that I'm sharing that will help you. And if so, then I am thrilled
Absolutely.
that somebody else has benefited. So
Amen, sister.
yeah.
All
We
right.
love you, Brian Weiss.
Yes, we do. We do. Thank you so much for your work. We really appreciate. Really
Absolutely.
appreciate
And
it.
Carol, his lovely wife, yes.
Yep.
She's
Yep.
been with him through so much of this too. And
Yeah.
they're both beautiful souls. Wonderful, wonderful people.
All right. So if you happen to give Brian Weiss a try, read one of his books, we'd love to know what you think.
Yeah, absolutely.
So please, drop us a line. You can comment on our Facebook page or our YouTube page, and we'd love to hear your reaction. But until then, we are wishing you so much love, so much light.
And so many, many blessings.
Be well.
Bye.